Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, my friends, whenever you are watching this video. Welcome back to another Math Time with me, Miss X. I am super excited to have you all here again. Let's begin by taking a look at our objectives. Remember, our objective is always broken up into three separate parts so you know exactly how you're going to do something, what it is you need to understand, and lastly, why you're doing it or why it's important. So you may read with me or in your head as I read out loud to you. I will shade and draw tiles to see smaller squares inside a large rectangle in order to relate it back to repeated addition. Great job, my friends. Now, in order to understand our objectives, we have to understand what we're working with. And in order to understand what we're working with, we have to review our math vocabulary. So let's go ahead and do that. Remember with our math vocabulary, we've been studying rows and columns lately. And rows, you can think of it like rows that you see in movie theaters that go from left to right and are horizontal or they go across. Whereas columns, they go up and down and are vertical. Alrighty, and then let's go ahead and review array. Array is a way of organizing a set of objects into rows and columns. And remember what I have been saying about arrays, my friends? Arrays have to be perfect squares and perfect rectangles that are arranged and created using rows and columns.
All right, friends and families, welcome to the first part of our teacher model here. Can you remind me what we discovered in the last lesson when we were working with our rectangles? Yes, great job. We learned in the last lesson that we can cut up a rectangle into rows and columns. It's very similar to when we can take bigger numbers and break them into smaller numbers, or how there are smaller numbers inside bigger numbers. Go ahead and grab your paper and look at problem number 1. Tell a friend or a family member what you see. Yeah, I see a large rectangle and I also see a lot of small squares inside this large rectangle here on problem number 1. That's all true. Now, if you take a look at what problem 1 says to do, it says to shade or color in an array with 2 rows of 3. Are we going to color in the whole rectangle? No, we are not. Now, starting in the upper left corner here, how many squares are we going to color in the first row? Great, we are going to color in 3 squares. Just like that. So we're going to color that first row red. We're going to next color in another row of 3 under that first row. Except this time we're going to do it with a different color. We're going to do it with green. Just like that. Pause the video here and tell a friend or family member what you see. Welcome back, my friends. There are 2 3s. There are 2 3s, so 3 plus 3. Let's go ahead and write down the repeated addition equation for this array. So again, like we said it, 3 plus 3 equals 6. And notice how they ask us and they talk about 2 rows. So that's why we are going to be looking at it like this instead of columns, because they are asking us to focus on rows and not columns. Let's continue with problem number 2. How many rows are we going to color? Great. It says to shade an array with 4 rows of 3. So we're going to color in 4 rows. How many squares in each row do we need to color? 3 squares, because it says rows of 3. Let's go ahead and do that. And remember to use a different color for each row. So I have 1 row, I have 2 rows. I have 3 rows. And then I have my last row. Just like that. Now, the next part tells us to write a repeated addition equation for the array. You'll notice that we are talking about rows again, so therefore our repeated addition equation needs to match the rows. So I have 3 here, and then I have another 3 here, another 3 here, and then my last set of 3 there. So 3 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3 equals 12. And one way that I solved that super easily was I decided to go ahead and create doubles to make my life easier. I know that my doubles fact of 3 plus 3 gives me 6. Same thing for 3 plus 3 here. Brought them together to have 2 6's. And 6 plus 6 is also another double that gives me 12. Therefore, 12 is my solution.
As you get ready to move into independent practice, please keep these 2 things in mind. Number 1, read the instructions carefully. Number 2, pay attention to whether they are asking for columns or rows in the directions. And then, what pages are you working on? You are working on pages 205, 206, and 207. If you need access to the worksheet, please click the link in the description box below. It will take you there. Don't worry about printing it if you don't have a printer. Just write down the problems on a separate piece of paper and solve it on your own the best that you can. Good luck, my friends. I'm looking forward to seeing you all in the next lesson.